Hello everybody, this is the Johnny Mare, and I am doing something a little bit different today, and that is taking a video gamers quiz. And so I was tagged by one of my good friends, and that is of course 84Jave, or just Jave as he goes by. And he wanted me to answer some various questions about my favorite games and gaming genres and memories and all sorts of stuff like that. And so I'm going to be doing that in this video. And then at the end, I'm going to be tagging a few people, some other good friends of mine that I want to also see do this particular quiz. So the first question I'm going to be answering is, what is your favorite game? Now, if you know me at all, or if you followed my channel at all, you should be well aware of what my favorite game is. The game that I constantly talk about when it comes to that particular question, and also the game I try to get other people to play all the time. And that game is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. That is the game that is closest to what I consider to be a perfect game. So it has outstanding graphics, the music is fantastic, and the pacing and dungeons and problem solving of the game is just top notch. And so I like to play through that particular game at least a couple of times per year, and I actually haven't played it recently, so I should probably get on that. Now, I do have a lot of other favorite games, of course. That is number one, but just to kind of fill out my top five, number two is Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, which is my favorite RPG. And then after that is Final Fantasy Tactics, which is my favorite Final Fantasy game because of the strategy RPG elements. My favorite main series Final Fantasy game comes in at number 4, and that is Final Fantasy VI, with a high five to Jave. And then my fifth favorite game / series, because basically they're very similar games in terms of gameplay, and the stories aren't really that different. I mean, they're different, but is Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3, which I consider my favorite kind of current gen, although obviously we moved on to another generation with the PS4, the X-Bone, and also the Wii U. But yeah, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are some of my favorite games as well. Question number 2, what is your favorite game genre? My favorite game genre is RPGs, and especially Japanese role-playing games, so kind of the traditional turn-based RPGs, or the strategy RPGs. And that's because I grew up on them quite a bit as a kid. Now, I didn't play a lot of them with the NES, or the Game Boy actually, which were my first two systems. But when I got my main kind of first system that I played a lot, which was the Super Nintendo, RPGs consumed a large part of my youth. And so I played, of course, Final Fantasy III, which was Final Fantasy VI. I also played Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG. I played a lot of the kind of Squaresoft RPGs. They were kind of the big thing that I got into. So I also played games like Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore, etc., etc. And those games have always been very exciting to me because I like the aspects of, you know, kind of the very story-driven game experience, with also the ability to kind of build up your characters and do sort of what you want with them, although some of those earlier games you were limited in terms of customization. Besides RPGs, I really like action RPGs, which is a little bit of a different genre, so like The Legend of Zelda, for example. I'm also a big fan of platformers, so the classic Mario, Mega Man, Sonic series, and also survival horror, so Resident Evil, for example. What is the earliest game you remember? Or gaming memory, I would assume. My earliest gaming memory is actually when I was very young. I don't know how young, but, you know, pretty young. We went to a kind of hotel / restaurant, and they had some arcade gaming cabinets. They had Space Invaders, and they also had Pac-Man. And that was the first time I'd ever seen a video game. So I played Pac-Man a little bit there, and, you know, intrigued me as a little kid. And then, you know, a year or so later, the Pizza Hut in our area actually got a couple of arcade cabinets as well. And they got basically, what was it? Excite Bike, I think. They had Street Fighter 2 at some point, and then they also had the old WWF wrestling game. something like Slam Masters or something along those lines. And so that really intrigued me. I was very excited by that. And so when I heard about, as a kid, kind of home video game systems, my family actually got me a Game Boy first. That was the first system that I had. And so I played a lot of Tetris, of course, Super Mario Land, and actually Spider-Man, I think, was the third game I got from my Game Boy. And then after another year or so, my family actually got a Nintendo NES. And so I played a lot of, Super Mario Brothers, and basically that was it. I mean, I didn't have a ton of Nintendo games. And it wasn't until I actually got the Super Nintendo that I kind of went overboard and I think became sort of a major video game player. What game are you looking forward to? I am mostly a retro gamer, and so I tend to focus more on older games. I certainly do buy newer games as well. In fact, my PS3 collection is kind of getting out of control recently, and also I got a Wii U recently, so I've been buying Wii U games as well. So the game I was most looking forward to recently was Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. I've never played a Smash Bros. Game before, and I still haven't because I haven't actually broke that game out yet, although I did buy it the day it came out. But I am quite looking forward to playing that and also playing that with friends and fighting online. Otherwise, the game I've really been addicted to recently has been Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. And so I've been playing a lot of that. And there is a brand new expansion coming out for that this next Monday, I believe, called Goblins vs. Gnomes. And so I'm quite looking forward to that as well. Kind of get some new cards into the game and see if we can get some of the new decks out there instead of just the basic 5 same decks that everyone seems to play. Which is your least favorite video game character? I would say my least favorite video game character are any game characters that are incredibly whiny. And so that includes Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2, Titus from Final Fantasy X, and I do call him Titus, not Titus, or Steve from Resident Evil Code Veronica X. I also am not a huge fan of any overly creepy characters, so Tingle, I'm looking in your direction. And I'm sure you're looking back at me with a very disturbing expression on your face. And lastly, what is your favorite video game character, or which is your favorite video game character? The Legend of Zelda being my favorite game series overall, it's perhaps not super surprising that my favorite game character is, of course, Link. I think they do a really good job with him. He's mostly, the silent protagonist, but it's the games themselves that kind of catch your attention and your interest and keep you captivated. And so Link does a really good job of being that silent protagonist. Now, beyond Link, my favorite character is Edgar from Final Fantasy VI. And then I also like a lot of the Nippon Ichi characters, and so Gig from Soul Nomad and the World Eaters, Laharl from Disgaea, and all the Disgaea games, he usually makes a little cameo. I'm a big fan of Galleon from the Lunar series, and then also Orlando, a super overpowered character from Final Fantasy Tactics, also known as Thunder God Sid. So that is it. That was the 6 questions I was asked to answer. Hopefully you enjoyed my answers, and I do want to tag a couple of people. Those people that I'm going to tag are Myrisa, also known as Mystic Phoenix, Mr. Rune DJ4, Majorly Challenged, Blank, also known as Blank Door, and Avok, and also Adrian. Now, I do also want to give a special shout out to 2 of my other friends, which are Haley, also known as Can't Level Up, and Reese, also known as the Reese Werrell, because they tagged me quite a few months ago on a similar kind of trivia quizzy thing called the YouTuber quiz, and I never actually got around to it. So I apologize to both of them, and hopefully this can kind of fill in that gap of me not actually doing that. So thank you to the 2 of you as well for thinking of me when you did that, and hopefully you enjoyed this video as well. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, as I've said, and I will see you all next time. So long.